On the air, episode 99. Common mark.
99?
99?
99?
99.
Studios in sunny San Diego, California. OTA on the air is on the air, and there's the Sully Band, of course. I'm Sully, and that is little Tommy Sablon.
Yes.
Of some sort of radio fame here in San Diego. Like that. Great to see you guys. Boy, look at it. And look who's back. Nacho coming back.
Glad to be back.
From the island of Panama via Lemon Grove. Where did you go?
Panama City, Panama, Central America.
How long were you there?
10 days.
Wow. Was it great?
Oh, yes.
Did you?
Oh, yes.
Okay, we'll talk about that off the air. So, are you going to grow your dreads back?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think because at first it all starts with a beard. Next thing you know, you're fostering little hairs in the back of your head. And then you go to dreads. It's an entry drug, this beard thing. So, or gateway drug, I should say. Well, it's glad to have you back. We missed you very much, Nacho. Nacho Sobers.
Yes.
He's the whole show.
More fire.
And speaking of shows, we have the whole band. Is the whole band here for a very special concert? I won't say the date yet. On the day before Thanksgiving. The entire band's here. even Tomoka. So this is what. So I went to go see Christopher Cross this week. And I noticed on stage there, it was at the Belly Up. We play at the Belly Up. I know what's going on. But you see these musicians, I started thinking, when Tomoka goes and plays the Andy Grammer, or April goes and plays with, she's everywhere, and traces some with some garage band in San Marcos. I start realizing that all of these players up here could be playing with other bands. So
I think these guys are the best musicians I've ever seen.
I think so too.
Seriously.
Well, the reason we're talking so much music today is we have a very special guest that I'll let you introduce in a second. But before we do that, Mary Burt Godwin, our den mother, has a very special announcement.
I was a special guest.
You are.
We're excited.
Hold on. Hang on a second. Let's hit your microphone.
What is this?
Nice.
Now, just to be fair, that's your mic.
Taking this home. Okay, this is mine.
There we go. So what do we have going?
Taylor Swift microphone.
We have a fundraiser concert. We've done a couple of these fundraiser happy hour concerts at the Belly Up with this best band in San Diego. And we've selected great charities, but this year we get to do something very special to my heart.
Yeah.
Which is Little Tommy's Breaking and Entering Christmas Kickoff event. You've never had one of these, right?
Never had a concert for Breaking and Entering Christmas.
And never did a Breaking and Entering Christmas at KUSI either.
Well,
or did you?
Correction. They've covered all of them.
But I mean, this is like the
This is the only one this is the very first one that KUSI is doing exclusively.
Okay, great. Because it started on B100, I think, a long time ago. Or what was the first? What was the first radio station?
96
was it Q106? Q106.
I listened to that in the car. I remember listening to that in my car. I couldn't get out of the car. You always talk about that. It's a good radio show if you don't get out of the car. I stayed in my car to
waiting for the next
thing.
Yeah.
And I just heard the whole thing, crying, tears in my eyes. That's when I fell in love with Tommy. The whole city of San Diego fell in love with you.
For sure.
Well, Breaking and Entering Christmas is where we help a family live on the air.
Yeah.
And for about 3 weeks, starting on November 1st, we start searching for families. And then hopefully by the time the Belly Up concert happens, I'll know about the family.
All right.
You can read the letter, right?
Yes.
The letter for the family that you picked.
Yeah.
Can we read letters along the way on the show?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like on the show every week we'll read a couple different letters that people send in?
We just need to change things up.
Okay, good.
Just to protect their identity.
Yeah, of course.
You can start sending letters. If you know a family right now that needs help, you can go to littletommy@kusi.com. littletommy@kusi.com and tell us about a family that's struggling.
Yeah, I mean, and it could be somebody, who has a spouse, husband or wife that is being deployed. It could be a family that's just in having a rough patch right now.
Or someone that all they know is struggling. I didn't know I grew up poor until I was in my 30s when I thought about life, and I went, wow, my mom, who's a single mom and had a low-paying job, raised 5 kids.
Yeah.
And I went, whoa, I don't know how she did it.
And at that point, Tommy was just breaking and entering. So, and then he grows up to do what he
Breaking and entering.
You work in what you know, right? I think
That's right.
All right, so
So,
let's talk about the concert. It's
November
very important.
23rd,
Here we go.
Wednesday, November 23rd, the night before Thanksgiving. You can show your gratitude by coming to the Belly Up
Yes.
at 5:30 p.m.
It's an early show.
Early show, home by 8 o'clock.
It's kind
Love
of
it.
it's kind of a pre-party for Thanksgiving weekend and the, of course, kickoff show for Breaking and Entering. And Tommy will be there. Yeah, what song you doing? You're doing a song tonight in front of the Belly Up crowd that night. What do you think it should be? I think
Rambling Gambling Man. I could
Rambling Gambling Man.
I was going to say Proud Mary, but we're going to read the letter that night, right?
Yeah.
He puts on
Or-
Tina Turner.
We will know about the letter ahead of time where people will come to the Belly Up knowing about the family to give.
Yes.
So hopefully that's
So
gonna
proceeds
happen.
of tickets will go to the family or families, whatever, and then we'll also be able to collect maybe toys.
Yeah, can people
gift
bring
cards.
stuff?
Yeah.
I think they can.
Yes,
bring it
we're
on.
going to make
Once
it
we know
as
about the
such.
Let's do a big, maybe we put the Sully Band wagon out front and just load the back of it up with stuff.
That is what
right?
we're going to do.
And bags of cash for this family.
And you know that graphic you guys have that's so cool?
Which one?
About the Belly Up?
Yeah.
It shows someone
Yes.
playing guitar?
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you
You
like
like my photo in there?
Sure. Why don't we just put?
Wow. That's asking a lot.
Remember when
Your
Russ-
name's on it.
I'm
Yeah,
teasing.
I know it says Little Tommy's.
Yeah, on the bottom.
Yeah, you got to put your
I'm just kidding.
glasses
I'm
on.
kidding.
Can we put the graphic for the Tommy Band up there again, real quickly?
I'm
for-
teasing.
We're going to add your face.
All right.
I'm
teasing.
taking this
All
with
right,
me.
very excited. Thank you, Mary Beth Godwin.
you.
Very good. All right, you guys ready for that show? It's gonna be a good show. We got some exciting stuff. I think we're gonna finally do a strip of songs that are just Michael McDonald, right?
Yes.
I think we should do a Michael McDonald session because everybody, or a Christopher Cross. After watching Christopher Cross, there's no reason why we shouldn't do a Christopher Cross or even a yacht rock section. So I think we'll do that for you.
That'd be cool.
All right, good.
Thank
So
you.
let's get this party started there, Tommy.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the only guest today.
What? We've never had that.
And
We've never had
rightfully
that.
so, from Taylor Guitars, the co-founder, Mr. Bob Taylor.
Wow. Good to see you, brother. It's almost like you're the co-host with us today,
He is.
right? And but you're the whole franchise today.
Wow.
We had such a great time with you a few weeks ago, or whenever it was that you were on, and we thought, man,
I
that's a
enjoyed it.
whole show. We scratched the surface with you last time, and we did, but it was such a great show. So thanks so much for
Dig a little deeper today. Get in there.
And speaking of breaking and entering Christmas, this young man, Mr. Bob Taylor, has given me a guitar for Christmas for breaking and entering Christmas for over 20 years.
Wow.
So thank you.
Amazing. Yeah.
You know what's scary is that's fantastic.
That's the coolest.
What's scary
thing.
is
I
Jeff
love
and Jera has
breaking
given
and
you. So had you kept all the guitars,
I have all
you'd
the
have
guitars.
64 guitars.
There you
at this
go.
point.
But thank
There's
you.
always a kid that wants to play guitar.
Oh, yeah. As
that-
a matter of fact, we have a baby Taylor right there.
Right on.
What did you think of the baby Taylor? I mean, it's interesting because there's so many great Taylor guitars. I played that Blue Hawaiian, that one of a kind, which I had no idea it was one of a kind until you told me last time. A million times on stage, and you see major artists, as you know. I think you mentioned even Paul McCartney at one point. But then suddenly this baby Taylor thing comes along, and that was a whole different category of guitar. I realized they made miniature travel guitars before. They weren't very good, but suddenly you have a guitar that sounds like a guitar that is,
Yeah.
well, Tommy-sized. So when did that come about? When did you think about that?
There was a time, right now ukuleles are really popular.
Sure.
And that started about 25 years ago, the rise.
Yeah.
Hate to disparage an artist, but Tiny Tim
Right.
ruined
He ruined
ukuleles
ukulele
for
for
everybody
everybody.
because they just couldn't relate, right?
That's funny.
Sorry. But that's, in my opinion, that's the demise right
Yeah,
there.
right.
And it started creeping back because ukulele is one of the coolest things in the world. As a matter of fact, if someone says, hey, I got a 5-year-old, what's the best guitar to get from them? I'm like, easy, ukulele.
Yeah.
I mean, they can play it, everything transfers. So people were asking me, make a ukulele. So I'm like starting to work on that. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to turn it into a guitar. And so
And it happened.
basically, yeah. And there were some new production techniques I wanted to use, and I wanted to test it out on that guitar. And some of those little techniques worked its way into the guitars.
But it sounds like a
yeah.
real guitar.
It sounds good.
It's got a bass response. It's got the whole thing. You know what's interesting? One of my favorite artists, his last name escaped me, is a ukulele artist named Jake.
Can't say it.
What is it called?
Shimabukuro.
Yeah, Shimabukuro. Shimabukuro.
Bless you.
If you can download a song from him on Apple Music or Spotify, you will be hooked forever. Because this guy is playing 4 strings, and it sounds like an orchestra when he plays it. And he's not doing a bunch of loops and stuff like that.
We played at the Music Box together.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Was it amazing?
Taylene, yeah.
Unbelievable. I mean, he plays James East, of course, 3 Grammys, 4 Tonys, a restraining order, and expired Costco card.
No, I got the Costco.
Oh, that's right. We got you one for your birthday. So James has played with everyone from Eric Clapton to Jake Shimabukuro. So,
Yes.
But there's nothing better than Paul McCartney on stage when he pays tribute to George Harrison. He starts off playing something on a ukulele, and then the band kicks in.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
That's the best thing.
No.
Let's go back again to the start of Taylor Guitars and your start with the love of music and such as a young man, and then going into being a luthier in this city of some note.
Well, I grew up in Claremont, and I went to, there was an exodus of young people in sort of the Balboa and Genesee corner of Claremont.
I remember.
So the Anderson Elementary School sort of closed down after a while, and things followed, and I went to Hale Junior High School. Marston, really. So I went to Hale Junior High, and then they closed down, and they became Horizon Christian Fellowship for a long, long time. Then I went to Madison High School. Claremont.
That's how it went. The people that went to Hale went to Madison. The people that went to Marston went to, and it was a rival. I believe it still is here in San Diego.
And I started listening to music when I was a kid. I got a $3 acoustic guitar from my buddy across the street, a guy named Michael Broward, who's still a musician today and a good one, and he lives in Nashville now.
Okay.
And he used to stand in his garage with his guitar. He had a Stratocaster, which I didn't know was a Stratocaster, and he had a Fender amp, which I didn't know was a Fender amp, and he plugged a microphone into it, and he'd stand in his garage all by himself and sing, "Mrs. Brown, you go to lovely daughter," and he'd play all the stuff, and I'm like, man, I need to be him, you know? And I bought a Chromie guitar, and I played it. It had painted on binding, and the next thing you know...
How old were you?
Less than 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a page out of the book in the late 60s, early 70s, where everybody who was going to play guitar opened up the garage and plugged in an amp?
Yeah.
Fender Tweed
Yeah.
on the floor and did that. That's, you're describing that, and theater of the mind. I'm thinking, I remember Brian Berquist on my street, being the same guy.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing, and they're always like the coolest cat around because suddenly they start getting better at a young age, and you're listening to it out of their garage.
Michael was more musically inclined, and I was more mechanically inclined. So I started looking at that guitar, like, how's this thing made? And then I wanted an electric guitar like him, so I took it down to the boys' club, and I sawed off the body, and I wanted to, got a piece of plywood. I wanted to make an electric guitar out of it, but I was too young to finish that. But I do remember when I took the Bendix brake apart on my bicycle.
Of course,
right?
on your Schwinn Stingray.
And it's like kaboink typhoon is what I had. And it comes apart. And then I had to learn like sales because I had to go across to Michael Broward's house and go, hey, can I take yours apart so I can see how mine goes back together? And he let me. I was more careful that time. I got them both back together. And I played guitar, wasn't very good enough, but I just kept getting interested. I was interested in making things.
But wait a minute. So when did the moment come when you said, hey, I'm going to make a guitar?
When I was in 10th grade, Madison High. By then I'd gone through, I had 3 years of industrial arts and an incredible teacher at Hale Junior High named Ernest Labastida, Mr. Labastida.
Ronnie Labastida's dad. I remember the family really well.
He's the best teacher there ever was for me.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
He would come down and open the shop on Saturdays so I could come in and work on my projects to send them to the California Industrial Arts Exposition. His wife would come in and we'd roast weenies over the forging furnace and have a hot dog.
That was lunch?
No kidding. And man, he really helped. And I saw him a few years ago. He came by. He's still riding dirt bikes at 80-some years old.
Are we fostering here in San Diego like we used to? Because I remember Mr. Borchers at Claremont High teaching us how to silkscreen T-shirts and us selling T-shirts at motocross events. Believe it. It's so funny because I think our lives are the same years as we're going forward, just not just at Claremont and Madison. But you think we're fostering people like that? Because that's the one thing that really helped all of us get to where we are, is that one sort of mentor. Yeah, I'm not just talking about math teachers. I'm talking about like the guy who taught auto shop, or the gal that taught, woodworking, or in your case, Labastida.
Yeah, generally speaking, the school systems are geared towards higher education.
Yeah.
Higher education would have been the kiss of death for me. I'm a hands-on guy. Yeah. That doesn't mean I'm not smart.
Yeah.
But that is.
You were wood shop, metal shop.
I'm wood shop, metal shop guy, and I learned a lot by the time. By the time 9th grade was over, Mr. Labastida taught me stuff. And then 10th grade, I took another year of metal shop. 11th grade, I decided to build my first guitar, and I opened up this book called Classical Guitar Construction by Irving Sloan.
Wow.
Asked my teacher, whose name was Mr. Kaiser, and I went to his 90th birthday party less than a month ago.
Wow.
And I opened that up, and I looked at the pictures, and I'm like, I have to do this. This is what I have to do.
That's awesome.
I'm not interested in anything else but this.
Speaking of metal shop, wood shop, what was your grade on your spice rack?
I got to see.
I got to see also. Just informal poll. What was your guy? I want to know every person's grade on their spice rack in high school. What was it? A. Of course, Mark Hattersley got an A. There's no question.
Right on. Mark
here
for the spice rack.
And Mark, of course, built that keyboard that he's playing right now.
There you go.
What did you get in your spice rack, James?
I got an A.
Did you really?
Yeah,
Of course, yeah. What about you, Brian? Did you build a spice rack in high school?
No.
Wood shop? No?
Cutting board.
Cutting, of course. What did you get in your cutting board?
A.
Hey, wow. See, of course. See all the quiet ones, right? Trace?
Didn't have it in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow.
You didn't? They didn't have. Okay, that's right, because you're about 16 years old. I forgot about that. Steve and Tripp definitely did. What did you get in your spice rack?
Incomplete.
Hey, by the way, there was two things in the San Diego school district that you built in woodshop. One was the spice rack. The other was the well lamp, where you had a lamp and you clicked it on. Right? Do you remember that? Yeah. Tripp, did you?
Also incomplete.
And of course, the horn section. Unbelievable.
I was at Surf P.
Guess what Taylor got? A+++. Plus, it also
good. And
it also played music. Also, it was fantastic.
Yeah. But I'll never forget deciding that
This is
guitars was what I have to do.
And we are the better for it. We are all the better for it.
I have so many questions after the break for Mr. Bob Taylor.
Tommy, can you name the song?
Well, that's Prince, Musicology.
Musicology. Wow, look at you. You are textured in your musical taste. I had no idea that you knew that. All right, on the air. I'm Sully. That's little Tommy and the inimitable Bob Taylor icon, captain of industry, and our friend here on the air. Well,
I have a question for Bob. I got two questions.
Yeah.
Can we commit to a baby Taylor guitar for Break and Entering Christmas?
Of course.
All right.
Wow, there we go.
Yes.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
And then my next question is, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Sometimes when I call you, through the years, they always say, well, Bob's in Africa. What do you do in Africa?
Well, we had an opportunity. Well, we cut ebony. That's the answer to that question. We own a sawmill there that cuts ebony.
For guitars.
For guitars, pianos.
Oh.
For bagpipes, for pool cues, for violins, cellos, contrabasses.
For those little baseball bats they give away at the Padres?
Yeah, those two, ebony. Ebony's really goes into musical instruments.
kidding.
We cut hundreds of thousands of piano keys in a year and that type of thing. We had an opportunity to buy that mill, and I hooked up with a Spanish partner.
But how did you know? How did you know that was the place? Like, did you read about it? Did you scout it? Like,
well, we know the people who sell ebony. So there was a ebony mill. They sold into our industry.
Got it.
Guy was Spanish from Valencia, he called a Spanish customer / client who.
Did you take a train to Africa?
Yeah, there he goes.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. It was the fast train.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
and they called them in Madrid and said, "Hey, I'm going to sell my company." They're like, "It's too big for us alone." They were friends. They called us. "Hey, would you like to do this together?" We went over, scouted it out. It looked like a dream, you know, and maybe a little bit more of a nightmare in the end because it's so hard to do working in a country that is undeveloped like that and lots of corruption. But we've managed to run the gauntlet every year, and we do well. Plus, we started a really nice replanting program, which is cool too.
Well, and you need boots on the ground, just to put the business head on for a second. When you're doing something like that, whether it's in China, whether it's in Belize, whether it's wherever you're sitting, you sort of need boots on the ground from there to be able to manage that. Because, as you said, corruption, second, third world countries sometimes. How did you navigate through that in the beginning, and how long did it take for you to get confident that the deal you were doing, A, was actually going to go through, and B, could survive, you know, sort of that transition?
I went 100 days a year for 8 years.
Wow. No kidding.
That's the answer to that.
No kidding. And of course, you fell in love with the area, correct?
I say I went for the ebony. I stayed for the people.
No kidding.
You know, and we get ebony, but the people are beautiful, and our employees are wonderful. We have about 55 employees there, and we built a nice place for them to work. It was a hellhole when we bought it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had pictures and we put them up, people would go, "Really? People work there?" You know, no water, no really toilets, no electrical lines laying on the ground, just dirt floors. Now it looks like an American factory.
Well, you know, and it's interesting when I talk about economic impact. When things come to San Diego, and it's sort of this benign theory of, you know, Petco Park is seething with economic impact. That is probably the basic definition of economic impact, is what you just did. You took this thing that was basically a thing, and now you've created an economic impact that affects every one of those workers' families, and the city around it in concentric circles going out from your mill probably 50 miles or something like that.
Yeah, when we built a well, a 100-meter deep well, which is where good drinking water is, and that well's open. We're in a city of, we say villages to our village,
sure.
but it's a city of 3 million people.
Right.
Okay, it's a big.
Which is why you can make an effect like that.
You wouldn't believe the traffic, but just the fact that our well is open 17 hours a day for the community. So people just lined up, come in and getting their buckets of water, take it home, because they didn't have good drinking water for this area around us. And the 50, 60 people that work for us have gotten more into middle class. It's still tough, but their life is much better. Really.
Tell us about Taylor Guitars 2022. You're an employee, right?
Yeah, I
You're an
am.
employee. Tell us about that.
Yeah, they let me work there.
But tell us about that, because you changed it over and you gave it back to your employees.
Well, in the end of 2020, December 31st, we signed the papers and we became 100% employee-owned. Now, you can't say we gave it back because it's a sale, but it's all structured and sanctioned by IRS and the Department of Labor. So the employees own it and they get the equity now. And there's some financing on the company, but this was our anecdote from me or my partners, me, Kurt, and Andy Powers, who became a partner 10 years ago or maybe 5 years ago. There's going to be a sale sometime.
Well, sure.
I learned when I was 20-something, I was like, I'm not going to sell my company. And a smart attorney said, Bob, you'll sell your company on the day you die or sometime before that.
Yes.
You know? And it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to do that, I want it to be a good sale. I don't want a private equity firm to buy it and then whip that racehorse and get. No, I want it to stay. So who could run it? Well, the employees.
Well,
so the employees gain the equity.
It's brilliant.
What this thing is called an ESOP, an employee stock ownership plan, and it's a qualified retirement plan.
Yes.
So the company becomes tax-free because the whole company exists
because it's employee-owned
for a retirement plan, and people gain shares by simply working there. No employee spends $1. The company pays for that. Eventually, in less than 10 years, it's paid off. It generates money. And anyways, people all have a retirement from that. So we're trying to bring sexy back to pension.
Well,
because
listen.
you know,
Well, yeah.
Well, wait,
because
but-
people don't have pension these days like
No.
they used
You're
to.
right, and it's a brilliant exit strategy for the founders, and
Yep.
it's not done enough. Dr. Beister did it here in San Diego with SAIC.
Yep.
You know, typically an exit strategy for a business that grows and gets to the next level is an IPO, an acquisition, or private equity company, and this is such a better outcome for the employees and for you guys as founders as well. And I will tell you, I wish more local companies that started here in San Diego would do that because
We're influencing, and we're on the sort of the ESOP circuit now.
Yeah, I love that.
Because ours is, we have a good brand name that people know.
Right.
Right. And we go to the conventions and we talk and we personally help people. And we did something interesting. We used Canadian financing with American company, and we're the first ESOP in existence that ever hit Mexico.
My goodness.
So our Mexican factory is included in that.
The Maquiladora.
And yeah.
Wow.
And we had to jump through hoops to make that happen. It was really interesting.
that's why he's Bob Taylor.
That's awesome.
As we peel the layers from the onion to hear the real story. Bob
Taylor
Taylor
Guitars.
joins us today on the air. So excited. Very interesting story. It's on the air. And we're on the air.
Make an ESOP. Don't sell a private equity.
Hey there. It's on the air with Bob Taylor. What do you think about that?
This is great.
Hey,
I'm having fun.
we had met our match. Watch this power. There we go. Well done, kid. Even with an incomplete on there. You know, that is so misogynistic. I didn't ask Tomoka or April. Did you guys have wood shop? Did you guys take any wood shop?
Metal shop.
What kind of heavy metal shop?
Heavy metal shop.
Heavy metal shop.
Did you? I hate to ask this because I'm going to get email. Did you take home economics? Was that the thing back then?
That stuff was long gone.
Because
It's
but
all
when we
long
were
gone.
taking wood shop,
They had home ec when we did.
the girls say,
Lord.
"What do they do? They do wood shop at all?"
They just graduated high school like 5
No
years
kidding.
ago.
No, what am I asking?
Go Woodwinds.
I know. You did home ec? What do they teach you in home ec?
Like sewing.
I always wanted to be in that class. No, I
was in it.
Well, I know why you were in it. What's up, girls?
Well, you know, we do have guitar making
Do they
courses
really?
like at West Hills High School, and Kearney High is starting a big. We sponsor it and we get them the materials, and we've written the curriculum. We've been doing this for 10 years, and these high schools. So Kearney's just going into it, but they're using it for more than guitar building. They're using it for history and math taught.
Well, because you
through
got
guitar building, which is kind of
Before your question, I have one more question for you. Just because I got to get this out of the way, because people are wondering, when you talk about teaching kids to build guitars and such, what's like the first thing, and then what's the last thing? Tuning pegs are last, and what's the order?
strings are last, and then the guitar
yeah.
exploding in your face.
Like one of those, remember the popsicle stick bomb you made as a kid? That's your first guitar, right?
No, the first one is just like gathering the materials, you know, smelling the wood and really breaking it down, because everything is a step.
Yeah.
You know, everything, it looks so complicated when it's together, but what do you do first?
How many steps are there? Do you have that memorized? Is there like, well, there's 1,500 steps.
No, I haven't had it memorized.
What?
There's a jillion.
I want to see. His next book out is called Guitar Making for Dummies by Bob Taylor.
Yeah.
So
A jillion steps to success.
But I do have a,
right.
I do have a
Truer
question.
words were never spoken, actually.
I do have a question about guitar making. You're Bob Taylor. Now,
Am I? Oh.
when I think of Taylor guitars, you know, I think of a Gibson Les Paul. I think of a Fender Strat. Did you research like Leo Fender? You know, as you were coming up, did you research all the guitar makers? You know, Les Paul.
Tommy, I didn't know anything about any guitars. What's really interesting is I lived in my own 16-year-old vacuum.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I knew I wanted a guitar. I didn't know who Gibson was. I didn't know who Fender was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know who Martin was. I just didn't. I didn't know that at all. And I learned about them along the way. When I had made, I was rounding the corner on my third guitar. I'd made 3 guitars and a banjo when I was in 11th and 12th grade. And when I was rounding the corner on that, I had a couple of Honda 350s, and I went down to Thurl's Music. Remember Thurl's?
Thurl's was the only music store.
It was awesome.
It was
and
great. I got my first Mel Bay guitar book there.
Yeah. And of course, Phil and Phil Jr. have transferred into Auto Collision. They're the best auto collision. Thurl's Auto Works out in
same
Santee.
company? I didn't know
that's
that.
That's their family. But at any rate, there was one up in Claremont Mesa, and I went in there and I saw a Martin guitar in a case, a D18, and I looked at it and I'm like, wow, now that's a guitar. And I sold a motorcycle and bought that and just started
taking it apart.
Yeah, I'm gonna do like here's a little pantomime of me playing a guitar. Strum, 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 strum. Long as I remember.
Looking inside.
No, I just start looking at it. I can't play very long before I've got my noses inside
That's
it.
so funny.
Looking down it, twirling it around. So I learned about those people along the way.
Wow.
And I think that was part of an accidental thing that allowed us to be okay, because I wasn't making a copy of what was there. You know, our tone was different. It helped us because we became a Coke to the Pepsi, or a Pepsi to the Coke.
And with all the success you have, how did you choose East County? Because that's a big deal. Taylor Guitars is in East County. That's a big deal.
There was a little guitar shop out there called American Dream Guitar Shop. And that was Sam and Jean Ratting, and they had a little place on College Avenue. Sam, it was known at State College as Electric Sam, and he started making some guitars. This was when industrial arts was a degree. You could get.
That's right.
It was a degree. You could get that degree, and you could go do something. You could become a teacher. Now you can't get a degree, so you can't teach it, you know.
Wow.
And it's interesting. So anyways, he started making some dulcimers and guitars. The two brothers, I'll take a music store. Sam went over to Lemon Grove, and I found them in 12th grade and bought some supplies from them. And after I graduated, I came out and somehow wiggled my way into a workbench to start making guitars. And then I never left East County. We just grew from there.
Hey, Bob, so we've talked about this before, and that is the, something that, and I've interviewed on our national TV show that's business centric, a lot of CEOs, all the way from Larry Ellison from Oracle to every captain of industry around, and every one of them.
Smart guys.
And every one of them, there is this theme around that I don't want to call it imposter syndrome, but it's almost disbelief when they see themselves on television, disbelief when they see their brands out there. Was there ever a time where you're going, oh my gosh, that's so-and-so with my logo on their guitar? Was there a moment of reality there that you can remember?
Well, the first time, and I may have mentioned it last time I was on with the baseball guys.
Yeah.
76, Neil Young,
Yeah.
Russ Never Sleeps, and I went down and I saw him playing that guitar on that huge screen in Mission Valley, a 12-string guitar, and he came out and did the whole acoustic set, played that guitar, and it was like, wow. But the interesting thing then is our company was still undeveloped, and I usually end that thought with, and the next day I went back to work.
And also,
I remember someone.
But you also hid though too, because you didn't want anybody to know that you were you, correct?
Yeah. Well, I didn't want anyone to be disappointed that he didn't actually play one. We just heard he had. And I went with 4 buddies, and I'm like, okay, you guys, I heard he played this guitar. I don't know he plays this guitar. And now we're still sophomore kids. We're 20 years old, right?
Wow.
And they're slapping the people. Hey, he's going to play his guitar up there. I'm like, shut up, just shut up.
I love that.
Thing. But he played the guitar. I was vindicated. My life didn't change at all, but it was a really happy moment. I'll tell you my favorite moments.
When we come back from the break, that's how you do it. Now they're sitting on their couches. All right, on the air. We got Bob Taylor here from Taylor Guitars. So exciting. Oh, could there be a Beatle in the Taylor artist collection?
I love the drums. That's my favorite thing.
Wow.
Hey, speaking of the Beatles, I think it was GQ magazine or something like that.
That was awesome.
I saw Paul McCartney with a Taylor guitar. Now, did Paul McCartney go to El Cajon and buy a Taylor? Like, how did Paul McCartney end up?
How
with
does
a
that
Taylor?
work? How does that section of the business work when you see a major artist like that happen?
Well, in this case, Richie Sambora bought that as a gift for Paul McCartney.
Wow.
And we had made a Richie Sambora model at one time, and you know, it was all decorated. The way he wanted it, he conceived some stuff, and we did that. We sold some, and he had one made left-handed, and he presented it to Paul McCartney, and Paul McCartney's been playing it ever since. He plays it everywhere all the time.
Okay, wait, let's go back.
I love that. That's a big deal.
So, so Richie Sambora gets an idea about a guitar and calls Taylor. Does he call? And does he call you and say, hey, I got an idea, or does he come by?
Well, we
Do you
have an
guys
artist
meet?
relations department director. We have 3 people working in artist relations right now, and it's their job. It's kind of like your job. How many people do you know? How many people have you called? You talk to? Well, we do kind of the same thing. Like
Hey,
you know
Mary?
everybody. I mean, you really do. And I'll just say, I don't know how someone like you or artist relations department can maintain 10,000 relationships in your head.
Wow.
I can't do it.
Can I get a job?
Hey, Mary. Hey, Mary, I need you to write down artist relations
Yep. On it.
for that signature model.
But it's so cool. Paul McCartney has a Taylor guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was watching The Voice, and some kid was performing awesome and playing a Taylor. That must how did that make
thrills
you feel?
me. That thrills me more than anything, because when you take our very best guitars and somebody with some money or famous or whatever, you see them play, I get a thrill. But when we were able to let's say we started with the Baby Taylor, and then eventually we conceived a whole line of guitars that are less expensive, and we built a second factory. We have our factory in El Cajon, we have our factory in Tecate. That thing I dug out a hard pan, with a couple employees. Now there's 800, right? And they make these guitars, and you see young musicians, kids on American Idol, The Voice, whatever, and they've got a Big Baby, a GS Mini, a 100 series guitars. They can afford that guitar, and they're on a stage, and they're plugged in, and they sound as good as a guitar can sound.
Wow.
That's,
And that's I love that, because there are future Paul McCartneys, and also I always music should be for regular people. Michelle Schock said, music and politics are too important to be left to the professionals. And I would say that 90% of our customers are just people like you, me. Well,
Right.
No, you're a pro. You and
But
me,
still,
we're not.
I want to talk about you for a second. When you are, because look, if you are a musician, and everyone here can tell you this, you spend time by yourself sometimes, just unwinding, not necessarily rehearsing, not woodshedding. You just pick up the guitar, and I'm sure you have a number of them. What is your favorite model that you have at home when Bob Taylor is just sitting in the leather chair and just, I'm going to check out for 45 minutes and just noodle?
Fender Strat.
It would be a telly. Be a telly.
It would be a telly, wouldn't it? It's so much cooler.
Definitely.
Right.
Oh, I have a really great Paul Reed Smith guitar, and I love. I don't know if you know the brand, but
Sure.
they're incredible. And someone's going to have to die, but that guitar is going to be worth something someplace. Me and Paul both, because it says "Made for Bob Taylor" by Paul Reed Smith. I've had it for 25 years, and it's like we got to die first.
Yeah.
But then. But I have a Dreadnought, an 810 model. It was one of the first we made. I made it in 1978, and me and that guitar, we go way back. We have a long relationship.
That's the one, huh?
That's my favorite guitar.
Is guitar number 1 still around?
Well, one of guitar number 1, 2, and 3 is still around. I put cherry bombs in 2 of them.
Did you really?
But one of them escaped that, and I still have it. Made it in high school.
Wow.
You should see a guitar go off with an M80.
Yeah, I was going to say. And remember the days of M80s?
I'm not kidding you guys.
You know what?
Well, and if you
just
went to
some kind
Hale
of
or
fun.
Marston, you could flush those things down the toilets and make a big sound during recess. How often do you get to sit down and just noodle, or try to learn a new song, or play an old song?
As much as I want, but right now I'm in sort of more of a phase of working on my Land Cruiser for relaxation, or building some furniture. I love building furniture. I build a lot of it. And so remember that I'm a guitar builder. That's my chops. I like making things. You go back to my 8th grade and winning the metal shop industrial arts blue ribbon in 8th grade and
Spice
9th
rack.
grade, and yeah, mine was more than a spice rack, let me tell you. I look at what I made when I was 13 years old. I mean, I still have it today. It's a jeweler's vice car. And I'm like, how can a 13-year-old kid make that?
Well, you were destined for that.
Mr. Labastida and me were a force.
Yeah, that's good. We need more of that here.
Yeah.
We need more of that across the country and across the world.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that mentorship is such a big deal.
But I love making things. I enjoy it more than music, more than playing music, not more than music. But because I'm kind of like a mediocre guitar player. If I could play rhythm in a guitar band and be back in the shadow, or play rhythm guitar in a band,
Yeah.
be back in the shadow, no one ever asked me to do anything more than that. I have a pretty good right hand,
Yeah.
and I can learn chords.
Sure, that's
you know.
good.
Do you know how many guitars you have sold? Is there a number?
More than 2 million.
2 million.
Wow! That is a big number. Good for you.
You can run, but you can't hide from a Taylor guitar.
That's right, exactly right, mister. That's so great.
Oh, yeah. And was there ever a moment with your partner, your business partner? I don't know if it was either this, late 70s, early 80s, when you're at a board and saying, okay, we did that, we sold that many. Oh my gosh, we're set.
We're not set. We're not set today. Every day, the only real time when we said we can't believe the orders that are coming in was the middle of 2020 COVID all the way to the middle of 2021.
Wasn't that- and isn't
it
that
was like
interesting?
the orders came in, we're like, this isn't going to last.
Yeah, isn't that
This
interesting?
isn't going to last. And we knew it wasn't going to last. But the orders that came in were they were stupid. They didn't even make sense.
Well, it sort of does because booze sales were up a lot at that point during 2020. So think about
Yeah, just a little.
alcohol sales, and of course home gym equipment and guitars.
Whiskey and guitars.
Yeah, it's-
Why not?
sure. Well,
No.
yes.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
we got one more segment with him. We're not letting him out of here yet. Bob Taylor. Taylor guitars, unbelievable.
Hey, do we have an M80? Does anyone have an M80 in
You
the house?
remember? I remember those days.
Yeah.
The cherry bombs and M80.
Those were good days, man.
They were really great days.
That's when you could be a boy, get into trouble, like mischief trouble.
I just found
And-
my Red Ryder Daisy BB.
Yes.
There you go. I mean, you could fall off a skateboard without it being a felony.
Yes.
You know?
Street football.
Street football.
Tackle football.
Yes.
Go to the rim or take a left. There we go. Bob Taylor's back. I have to say, so Tommy and I finish this show every week, and we always, well, on our way home from Loft 100 Studios, we'll go, Tommy will go, hey, were you good? I'll go, yeah, you good? With good show? I was like, we always checking ourselves.
And I'll always say,
Go ahead.
I always say that was like the best episode ever.
I've never said that, but I have to tell you that this is my favorite episode we've ever had, and this is episode number 99.
Wow.
But it really is because we get to do a deep dive, and I always said to Tommy, God, I never got to meet the guy. Like, can we get Bob Taylor in here? And this started about maybe a year ago, and obviously schedules and stuff like that. But man, it's great to have you in here. I have to ask you, for you. What does retirement look like to you? Are you living it right now? Does this look like the same, going forward in your mind?
I say I'm semi-retired.
Yeah, semi.
Not quite semi-retired.
So you're not quite in the batter's circle, but you're somewhere on the bench somewhere waiting.
Yeah, and I think I'd like to maintain that as long as I possibly can, which is I'm on the campus. I have I built a place where I've got a nice office and a wood shop of my own.
And a golf cart that's shaped like a guitar.
Yeah, exactly. No, like my friend says, I have a swimming pool that's shaped like a guitar amplifier. And so, at any rate, I can do some stuff on my own, or I can leave if I need to leave and come back and it's still there.
Sure.
But I also, I like to say I know my way around the campus. I know some shortcuts, and
Yeah.
I can help. And there's a lot of things that I can do to help, and so I'm involved. But you gotta. My buddy, who I go to Baja with, Jesus. He lives in Tijuana. We've been going for 20 years. We're on the radios. He just retired from Taylor Guitars, and I was talking on the radios when we were driving through Baja, and I'm going, hey, Jesus, we got, you're getting ready to retire. So and so's getting ready to retire. He goes, yeah, Bob. We got to pull over and let the young guys pass.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You got to because it's interesting how the youth can come if you're bringing them up through your business or a trade or even a technology business. If you pass it on to you find that you pass it on to the smarter ones. I've found that every single time.
Well, they appear, they prove themselves. You don't have to. They show up.
Yeah.
The leaders just show up.
Yeah.
They're leaders before they're sanctioned leaders, and it's not because they're a bully or a type A. It's just because they walk in and go, well, anything I could do for you, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And they just do it.
Here's what's cool about Taylor Guitars. One time I walked in to pick up a guitar.
Yeah.
And when I walked in, it's huge.
They stopped you at the door.
No, it's a huge warehouse, but you hear people playing music.
Yeah.
You hear the guitar makers, stopping and playing. You go outside in the parking lot, in the back parking lot on a lunch break, and they're playing.
We dig guitars. We dig playing music.
That's so
We
cool.
really,
And they're all
really do.
great musicians.
Yeah. And it's a lot healthier than working in a donut shop and eating the product.
Absolutely.
We like to use the product when it's done.
Bob Taylor could have been a baker.
That's so funny. Hey, when you hear about a big concert coming to town, is it easy for you to say, hey, can I go to the George Thorogood concert? And then boom, you get tickets? Or does all the
Asking for a friend.
like Taylor Swift?
If I want to do that, I'll talk to Tim Godwin, Arts Relations Manager here. We will always ask and insist that we buy tickets.
Sure.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they refuse our payment, that kind of thing.
Wow.
I forgot to ask you this last time you were on the air with us. James Taylor, have you ever had an artist relationship with James Taylor?
Me and James have the same birthday, and which is kind of interesting. And I sell guitars to Livingston, his brother. I sell Carly Simon.
Livingston Taylor, a great artist.
Yeah, he's great. In fact, he claims to have taught James a lot of. If Livingston plays, he plays like James.
Wait, Carly Simon has a Taylor?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
funny. And James' daughter. But I won't sell a guitar to James because he plays Olsen guitars, and James Olsen is one of my best friends. And it's like, you can just forget that. He's happy with Olsen guitars.
And a great story how Olsen got his guitars to James Taylor. I'm sure you could tell the story better than I can. But if I'm not mistaken, didn't he leave them in a hotel room one time with a note?
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, tell us the story. What happened?
He left him in a hotel room with a note.
Boom, just like that. You know what? Asked and answered. High speed, low grab, Bob Taylor.
There it is. That's gonna be the promo.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Okay, before we get out of here, I want to talk one more time about breaking and entering Christmas.
Yes.
Do we have a Taylor guitar for breaking and entering? First, of course.
We get a baby Taylor every year, so thank you very much.
And I'll let you take it away from me.
Well, it's going to be Saturday, December 10th, exclusively on KUSI.
Do you want to bring Mary up here with her new deal?
If you know a family that needs help, email me, littletommy@kusi.com.
Oh, here she comes.
But the day before Thanksgiving, Wednesday before Thanksgiving, Mary, where will the Sully Band be?
The Belly Up Tavern.
Here we go.
Hey, will you play this? Will you use this microphone?
I will not use this, but I'll let you come up for a song if you want. Actually, Bob Taylor's going to come up and he'll walk up like this. So
yes.
Right before it's like Engelbert Humperdinck used to.
There you go.
And it's at the Belly Up the night before Thanksgiving is a benefit for breaking and entering Christmas.
Breaking and entering Christmas. 5:30 to 7:30.
Great.
7:45 maybe.
Yeah, great.
Be home.
I love those early shows. I hate to say that, man, but my favorite show in the world is when we start at 5:30 and I'm home in bed by like 8:45. It's fantastic.
Love it.
You're not Spanish.
Super dark in some of these clubs. You think you're out till 1 in the morning, but it's really like 8:30.
Yeah.
Episode 99 rocked. Loved it.
Bob, I can't wait to have you in again. Thank you so much for being so
Can't wait
generous
to
with
come
your
in
time.
again.